The Galactic Council chambers erupted in what could generously be called laughter, though the various chittering, buzzing, and harmonic resonances from the assembled species sounded more like a malfunctioning fusion reactor to human ears. Ambassador Chen Wei sat stoically as the Zephyrian representative's crystalline form pulsed with amusement. Primitive fusion minds? High Counselor Vexthara's translator rendered her species' mirth as a tinkling melody. The humans wish to contribute mining equipment to our war effort against the Void Reapers? Chen's jaw tightened, but his voice remained diplomatic. The Terran Federation's Mark 7 fusion mines represent cutting edge. Cutting edge? The hegemony's war leader, General Korthval, slammed a massive fist against his console. These toys wouldn't scratch a Reaper hull. Our quantum disruptors tear holes in spacetime itself, and still we barely slow them down. 3 months. 3 months since the Void Reapers had emerged from the galactic rim, consuming entire star systems with their reality-warping technology. The greatest military minds of 17 species had thrown everything at them. Weapons that could crack moons, shields that bent light around entire fleets, AI systems that calculated 10,000 variables per nanosecond. All had failed. Perhaps, Chen said quietly, our perspective might offer something different. The laughter intensified. The Altarian delegate's tentacles writhed in what his species considered peak humor. Different? Your species hasn't even achieved faster-than-light travel without our assistance. What could you possibly— A priority alert cut through the chamber. The massive holographic display shifted to show the outer rim defense grid. 7 Reaper dreadnoughts had appeared at the Kepler 442 system, their dark hulls seeming to drink in the light of the system's star. They're targeting the Naval Academy, whispered Counselor Thaneris. 50,000 cadets from every member species. Chen stood. Grant me field command of a single vessel. Give me access to our mining equipment. Absolutely not. Vexthara's crystals flared. We cannot risk— You're going to lose anyway. Chen's words cut through the chamber like a blade. Your weapons don't work. Your shields don't hold. Your tactics fail because you're fighting their kind of war. He gestured to the display showing the Reapers systematically dismantling the defense platforms. What do you have to lose? 20 minutes later, Chief Engineer Sarah Martinez materialized on the transport pad of the Corvette Defiant, looking distinctly unimpressed by her surroundings. The ship was Altarian design, sleek, efficient, and completely incompatible with human engineering standards. They want us to do what exactly? She asked, studying the crate of Mark 7 mines that had been hastily loaded aboard. Win a war, Chen replied grimly. The Reapers have reality-warping technology. They exist partially outside normal space-time, which is why conventional weapons pass right through them. Martinez cracked her knuckles. But mines are different. Mines are patient, the engineer grinned, and humans are stubborn. For the next 6 hours, as the Defiant burned toward Kepler 442 at maximum velocity, Martinez performed what could only be described as technological necromancy. She ripped apart the Mark 7 fusion mines, integrated them with salvaged Altarian quantum processors, and connected the whole mess to the ship's navigation array with what appeared to be standard electrical cable. This is madness, muttered Lieutenant Zephyr, the ship's Altarian science officer. Fusion mines are area denial weapons. They create brief nuclear reactions when triggered. Martinez corrected, her hands deep in the guts of the modified device. Now they're something else entirely. When they arrived at Kepler 442, the Reaper fleet was already beginning their consumption protocol. The star itself was flickering, its light bending and warping as the Reapers fed on the system's gravitational matrix. The Naval Academy's desperate distress calls filled the communication channels. Deploying mines, Chen announced. The Defiant scattered the modified devices throughout the system, not in the Reaper's path, but in seemingly random positions around the star itself. The Reaper dreadnoughts paid them no attention. Their sensors registered only primitive human technology, barely worth notice. Beginning activation sequence, Martinez said, her fingers flying over jury-rigged controls. Remember, these aren't weapons anymore. They're anchors. The first mine activated silently, its fusion reaction beginning not as an explosion but as a sustained burn. The exotic matter from the Altarian quantum processors wrapped around the nuclear fire, creating a stable pocket of enforced spacetime. Then the second mine activated, and the third. What are they doing? Zephyr whispered, watching the display in confusion. Creating a grid, Chen realized. They're stabilizing local spacetime. When the final mine came online, the effect was immediate and devastating. The Reaper dreadnoughts, existing partially outside normal reality, suddenly found themselves forced into standard spacetime. Their reality warping fields collapsed. Their phase-shifting hulls became solid, and for the first time in 3 months they became vulnerable. Martinez keyed the general communication frequency. All ships, all stations. They're locked in normal space. You have maybe 10 minutes before they adapt. The counterattack was swift and merciless. Quantum disruptors that had previously passed harmlessly through Reaper hulls now tore through their armor like paper. The dreadnoughts, suddenly subject to normal physics, found their impossible geometries becoming structural weaknesses. In 8 minutes and 37 seconds, 7 Reaper dreadnoughts became expanding clouds of exotic debris. Back in the council chambers, the silence was absolute. Even the Zephyrians had stopped their crystalline humming. "How?" Vexthara finally asked. Chen smiled grimly. "You tried to fight them with better weapons. We gave them something to trip over." He gestured to Martinez, who was still covered in quantum residue and looking enormously pleased with herself. "Humans don't always build the biggest hammer. Sometimes we just move the nail." General Korthval leaned forward. "Can you replicate this effect? Create more of these anchor mines?" "Every human mining operation has a few dozen Mark 7s lying around," Martinez said cheerfully. "And now that we know the principle works," she cracked her knuckles again. "Give me a week and I'll have the entire rim locked down tighter than a fusion bottle." The war turned that day. Not through superior firepower or advanced technology, but through the peculiarly human talent for making the impossible work with spare parts and stubborn determination. The Void Reapers found themselves trapped in a reality they could no longer escape, hunted by weapons they could no longer phase through. And across the galaxy, mining equipment manufacturers suddenly found themselves very, very busy. The stars, it turned out, were quite fond of staying exactly where humans put them.